is up, RotoGrinders? Dean here, Dean 7894. If you want to get all technical, three-man booth. It is the People's Show for an awesome night in the association. It is the first of a bunch of slates that are specific to the, do they want us to call it the Emirates Cup now? Is that what we're calling it now? The in-season tournament is back. I thought it was a blast last year. I think it's a spectacular idea. You're going to get people complaining about the courts on Twitter. Oh my God, there's so much red. There's so much, I can't watch the game. It's fun. And, I know Tim's not a big fan of fun. I'm curious to get your thoughts. No teams play on the front end of a back-to-back. I think it's just like consistently throughout the entire tournament. So there's nobody on the back end of a back-to-back tonight. But there are nine teams on the front end. So it's going to be a mess tomorrow. Boston, Detroit, Milwaukee, Minnesota, New York, Orlando, Philly, Phoenix, and Portland. Just like 10, 11, 12, 13 games in the season, we have a slew of injuries. So many good players are hurt. Jason Tatum officially ruled in. I thought they were going to do some goofy stuff. They're 15, 16-point favorites here against Atlanta. They do play tomorrow night, I think, versus Cleveland. Horford also in, too, so I guess that means Horford's not going to play tomorrow. Cleveland, of course, undefeated. Premium game tomorrow night. Maybe they'll rest Tatum tomorrow. Maybe they won't. Who knows? We'll see. They'll certainly rest Horford, almost definitely. Of course, Atlanta, one of those teams without one of their studs. No Trae Young. Trae Young is out tonight. He's got an Achilles. Dame Lillard is out. Jimmy Butler still out. Walker Kessler is out. Miles Bridges is out. Once Embiid walks in the door, Tyrese Maxey is now out with his hamstring. Kevin Durant, he's 39 years old and they played him 42 minutes a night. And wouldn't you know it, he hurt his calf. Who could have seen that coming? Durant is out. We may get the return of Derek Lively and possibly the best watchable game tonight with Dallas and Golden State. That is the back half of the ESPN doubleheader. Golden State and Dallas. The first one is the return of Embiid taking on New York. Speaking of teams that have injuries, they basically play a six-man rotation. Well, two of those guys are currently dinged, the ones that don't matter so much. So definitely is something to monitor as well as far as Campaign and Miles McBride. They're also questionable. This is a fun one, boys. I think this is a really, really good slate. I didn't mention Nurkic. He's also questionable. If he doesn't go, maybe we get some Plum Dog, the millionaire. He started last game, the second half, because Nurkic gave it a go and did not finish. Also, midday downgrade DeAndre Ayton, which is a late game. DK did keep these games, by the way. They haven't cut in these 10 o'clock games. The slate, I guess, not big enough for them because there's a 9 o'clock game. There's two 10 o'clock games, both on DK's main slate, of course, around FanDuel as well. I guess they could have made it a 5-gamer, but I guess they wanted to keep all 8 of these. Bobby, are we excited about the in-season tournament, the Emirates Cup? Are the Celtics fans super pumped to win this?
Dean, I'm colorblind, so the courts make it difficult for me to watch the games. So
really? I didn't know that.
No, I'm joking. I'm not colorblind. That's probably not a great joke to make. I am not as excited because it seems like it's just, I don't know. It was fun actually last year. I shouldn't poo-poo it. I think the Celtics are probably going to win it because we're the best team in the league all of a sudden, So
they're in the same division, by the way, as Cleveland. Just so you know, that's like the biggest game probably in the cup.
Should I be worried?
No, but I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, there's a wild card. So everybody wins their 6 divisions, moves on, and I think there's one wild card. Bless you. So there's 8 in total. So they both can move on in theory. But yeah, you shouldn't be worried. But that'll be a fun game if nothing else. Manufacture excitement. I'm in on it.
I hope it's more exciting than the NBA playoffs last year. Thank you for the bless you from Chad. I appreciate that. Thank you, Chad.
Yeah, it was a little. NBA playoffs should have been better for some reason. I don't know why they weren't
better. It was terrible.
The playoffs were terrible.
They were awful. Year. Yeah.
Well,
I think we should have more enthusiasm. You should have wanted Tim on this question.
Well, Tim hates fun. I mean, I already know what he's going to say. He doesn't like the fun. I don't think he does. Do you like fun?
I don't like fun, but I have liked this NBA Cup. I did like it quite a bit last year. I did not think it would be fun. I did not think that people would really try or care, but I was dead wrong. So I think that has been a reasonably exciting little event that the NBA puts on, and $500,000 to the starters of these teams doesn't mean anything.
Oh, is that what it is? It 500K? I thought it was less than that. It's 500K now.
It's 500K. It's 500K, and that means
15th
nothing.
Man on the bench, though, those guys are winning fouls.
Exactly. Like, these end of the bench guys, $500,000 is important to them. So I think you see these teams actually try to win this thing.
The most interesting thing, I think, and we'll get there when we get there, is like when it comes down to point differential stuff. And we saw this last year with Boston, where they had to win by like 20 or something like that, and they're just still chucking up. And I can't remember what team they're trying to bury, but it might have been Atlanta. I can't remember. They're trying to bury somebody, and like the other team took umbrage. It was, but understanding that's just how this stuff goes. It's like goal differential in soccer, same sort of principle. I like that when we get there as well. So like, I'm also curious if teams sort of, shorten their bench a little bit. Again, I think that's something we might get to like to the last game when it quote unquote matters even more. But there's 82 games. And let's spice it up a little bit. And like the people who don't like it, it's like it's not replacing anything. It's just they're playing the games, just adding a little bit more to it. That's all.
These games count towards their regular season record. Every game counts towards your regular season record, other than the championship game. So every game counts towards your season long contest or your season long record. Sorry.
Okay. Also, we have the return of Klay Thompson, the Golden State. This is the first blood matchup as well. Worth noting, I guess. I'm not sure how dusty he may or may not be at this point. Not spectacular, but he is pretty cheap. Okay. Overall, Tim, as far as this slate, Giannis looks amazing. Like last man standing versus Toronto. Like he projects awesome. He's the highest projected player on the slate, just ahead of Luka. And then there's a big gap. Tatum, if you can somehow get 35, 36 minutes of Tatum versus Atlanta, if they don't just fully thrash him, he looks amazing as well. Atlanta's not a good team. They're hurting. They're not good defensively. They play fast. It really sets up as a Boston shellacking. And they also have that game tomorrow night where, if they're well ahead, maybe they rest. You don't really know what they're planning ahead, but tomorrow they play against Cleveland, which, again, one game added to it, who cares? But theoretically, it matters probably a little bit more than the others. How are you seeing this slate? There's plenty of value, I think. I think you should like your lineups tonight, Tim. If you're hand building stuff, I think you should basically like everything to some degree. Is that how you're seeing it?
Yeah, I mean, there's already plenty of value. We just got Emmanuel quickly ruled out as well. So that takes care of a little bit of Toronto action. Toronto's going to be in a really, really tough spot tonight. Giannis is in an absolutely smash spot. I mean, Giannis is the clear spend up option in cash games. We've got some pretty clear and obvious chalk for Atlanta as well. But I mean, there's going to be this Dallas Golden State game is going to be, I think, the best, real life game, but also it's got the highest total on the board. And it's only a 2.5 3-point spread. So I think that's going to be a really good game for DFS. It's just really hard to know exactly what Golden State's going to be doing because they play so deep. They play a 12-man rotation. So that could be a tough one to decipher. But I do think there's going to be, some guys in this game that are going to be in the optimal builds this evening. So I think that's something to keep an eye out for as well. It's a pretty nice tournament slate.
If you believe Steve Kerr, he's been changing his starting lineup and doing all sorts of the rotations in wild. He says the last starting lineup is the one that's going to be going forward. But again, we'll see. Curry, Melton jumping in there, Wiggins, who's currently questionable, Draymond, and TJD, who I think he barely played any minutes last game. In part, I think that was because of how many players they have, and also that was the game where Chet Holmgren got hurt, and when Chet got hurt, it just went super, super small. I see TJ in chat. TJ is going to be on later. It's interesting because I thought the same thing, and who the heck knows? But if Ayton is questionable, is there a chance they quote unquote showcase, Robert Williams, Time Lord? At some point, they want to move him, right? They don't want him to be hurt. I don't know. It's an interesting thought. They have Klingon as well, who's a big boy. Just trying to think that one through. And it's a tough matchup for bigs, of course, with Gobert on the other side. I don't know if Gobert is the guy you want to showcase your center against that you want to trade. I'm not sure. But maybe that could be interesting. Some things just kind of keep in mind. That's a 10 o'clock game. We're probably not going to get that We just got Ayton questionable half hour ago before the show started.
I bet it's total points prop.
Which
Ayton's.
Ayton?
Yep.
Hopefully under.
No, I bet the over.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it was probably, he's fine. I guess the number was low enough where you liked it. The Blazers, it's not good. It's not good. By the way, you talk about Milwaukee and they're going to blow out Toronto. They don't blow anybody out. They stink. They're also terrible. I think they're 2-8 on the season. Toronto's terrible too. And Milwaukee, I understand why they're favored. They're still the best player on the court by miles. But besides Giannis, that team is bad. It's pretty bad right now. What do you got, Tim?
No, I was just gonna say they're probably better defensively without Dame, though.
Yes, yeah, and good luck figuring out who they're going to start. Who are we projecting? AJ Green and Jackson.
Davion Mitchell. Oh, for Milwaukee, yeah, we got Green, Jackson, Prince, Giannis, and Lopez.
All right. By the way, I did mention that Clay is coming back tonight. We're going to go game by game in just a second. I did have I sent out a tweet. If you want to get some free RotoGrinders premium, respond in the tweet. Do not respond in the chat. I'm going to drop it in the chat, but don't answer in the chat. I'm not going to take account of that. But tell me exactly how many points Clay scores tonight. You get yourself, if you get it right, and you're the only person to guess that number, you get a week free of RG premium. If somebody else guesses it, you also got to tell me two things. Tell me how many points Clay scores tonight and how many DK points. So there you go. How vengeful is he? How dusty is Clay Thompson? They might as well bring out his doppelganger that snuck into the game the way he's playing these days. But yeah, Clay's probably better than that guy. And of course, my guy J3 in chat answers right there in chat. Does not answer in the tweet. You can answer in the chat too for fun. Yeah, I'm curious. 22. I'll take the under on 22. Bobby, Tim, anything else we should mention before we go game by game?
No, it looks like it's going to be a good tournament slate. Definitely interested in breaking it down.
It does for sure. We did get the Boston news. That is the first game we're going to talk about. Boston at home versus Atlanta. 223 is the total. Boston almost a 120 team total because Atlanta barely over 100. This does have blowout on layaway. You never really know. It's the association. But yeah, Tatum officially in. Horford officially in. Cornette is back. So Boston is fully ready to go. And Atlanta is a mess. There's no Hunter. He's been out forever. But Trae Young is kind of the big deal here. No Trae. We are projecting Dyson Daniels to start at the point with Gary Matthews, Garrison Matthews, Gary Bird. I know that Keaton Wallace is also projecting as an interesting cheapie. Ideally, you want him to start. I think he's one of those players that even if this game gets ugly, he would both start and mop if he does start. But yeah, he was somebody that was looking interesting before. Curious where our projection is at on that. But yeah, Tim, where are you seeing Atlanta and Boston? A tricky one because, if it stays close, Boston should get there however they want. And Jalen Johnson, if this game is close, it's probably because he's doing spectacular things or the Celtics are doing really poorly as far as making threes and it's kind of a low-scoring game.
I would imagine if this game stays close, Jalen Johnson is going to absolutely crush. But there's obviously we have to talk about Keaton Wallace, who's kind of like the super cheap value play. We haven't projected for I think 28 minutes now. Would not shock me if he got up to 30. He's 3,200. I think he plays in a blowout, so I think he's pretty blowout proof. I think he still plays if the game is relatively competitive. So I think he's definitely going to be a guy that you're getting in your cash games. I think he's a guy that you can get overweight in GPPs as well. He's right around, I think, 30% projected ownership. I really like Keaton Wallace today. Garrison Matthews, he's definitely projecting well. He should be playing pretty solid minutes as well. 3,700. Not as confident with him if he's got to share the court with the starting five and not going to be running the backup point like Keaton Wallace. So not as excited with Matthews, but I think he is a decent play. But yeah, I mean, Jalen Johnson for me is the really tough decision point because there's other players right around the same price tag that I like quite a bit. And I don't know if he necessarily gets there if the game really gets out of hand.
My thought is if you play Jalen Johnson, you should probably run it back with a Celtic. And that's kind of where I'm at, Tim. I don't like playing him just by himself. I'm okay playing Keaton Wallace by himself without a Celtic.
Right.
I'm okay playing Garrison Matthews if I want to go that route. But Jalen Johnson needs like 35, 36 minutes of like 37% usage. And if he's doing that successfully, you got to think one of these Boston guys gets there as well, I think. You feel that the same way there, Bobby? What are your thoughts as far as your Celtics and the Hawks that, big hole to fill the absence of Trae Young?
Yeah, so Keaton Wallace at 3-2 for me is going to be a very, very strong play. Like Tim said, he sees minutes in a blowout. He's going to have to play heavy minutes anyways. So I think at that price tag, he's going to be an easy guy for me to just get in there. From there, it's Dyson Daniels, I think, would assume some more usage. He's like at his price tag, I think he's fine as well, but definitely prefer Wallace. He's 6K. Wow, I didn't even realize he was 6K.
Your life comes at you fast with Dyson Daniels.
Yeah, life comes at you fast with Dyson Daniels for sure. Jalen Johnson's like the tournament play that if he gets there, like Dean said, like you want to be running that back with either Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown. Tatum has one of the best DBP matchups in the whole league tonight versus the Hawks. I think it's number 1. So I'm interested in Tatum a good bit. And then I tagged Garrison Matthews earlier in the day, but now I'm not as I definitely would replace that with Keaton Wallace at this point.
I like when you get a bigger sample on that defense versus archetype. I see it now. Jaylen Brown, scoring wings, best position. The best fantasy spot this year so far is facing Atlanta if you're a scoring wing. Of notes, versatile forwards, the second best spot against Boston, which is kind of interesting. We're gonna call Jalen Johnson a versatile forward. I think he can. I think it's the right tag. My question is, how concerned are we that Keaton Wallace is not good at basketball? You know what I mean? Like, could he be out there for 25 minutes and just kind of not do a lot and not necessarily be the guy that the ball's going through? I don't know.
I wonder about like the shooters, right? Like, there's only Jalen Johnson. Like, who's he fighting with for usage? It's not like a situation with who was it the other night on the Mavericks where you had Clay, you had Irving, and you had Doncic, and he was like the fifth man, and he was chalk, and it's like he's not
Najee Marshall,
yeah. Like, there's not really many. You think really it's just Jalen Johnson. Like, if Trae was out there and DeJounte Murray still was with the team, then I'd have some questions about it. But
yeah, it wouldn't be a big deal if he wasn't going to be really popular, and that's the way we're seeing it right now as far as popularity. And he is super cheap. Like, what does he need, Bobby? What do we need to feel okay about rostering Keaton Wallace on DK at 3-2? How many points do you want? 25?
I'll take 26. I'll take 26, Dean.
Yeah. You could survive that, of course, if you don't have him. If he puts up like 35, then you're probably in trouble.
If he hits like an 85th percentile outcome, like he starts hitting like 30 plus, you're in trouble.
Yeah. Tim, what's the number we want out of Wallace? Like, what's an acceptable number?
Bobby was really close. I was going to say 28.
Yeah. Mabs is asking Wallace or AJ Green. I think I feel better about Wallace than Green. Green is just like he's got to make his threes, right? We're not sure if he's starting either. This news would help if we're getting some news, but if we don't get it, Crunch Time, of course, they're going to get it. Crunch Time comes on in about an hour or so. TJ is hosting it. I think TJ, Taylor, and Neil, they'll be holding that down. Do hit the like button so TJ doesn't force to beg and grovel by the time he gets on there. Hit the like, subscribe, turn on those notifications, do everything. Favorite Celtic, Bobby, is who? All things considered.
I tagged Jalen earlier, but now I want Tatum more, I think, at this point. I like both, to be honest. But I like what you said. So I like Jalen Johnson with the Tatum run back. I think that's a really sharp way to kind of play this game. And if Tatum's too much, you can run Jaylen Brown. Just running back one of these Celtics, I think, makes a good bit of sense.
Is Peyton Pritchard too sneaky of like betting on the blowout? Because he's also another guy that wouldn't like fully mop, but he'll mop the most amongst the guys that are like usable on Boston. Just sort of throwing that name out there.
I'm currently getting no Pritchard.
Yeah, Steve in chat says I like Pritchard a lot. By the way, Tim, of note, Mr. Richard said he made 100 lineups in SimLabs, and Wallace only popped up in 22. I know you're always running the sim stuff. Is that what you're seeing? How is he simming out for you?
Yeah, I mean he's showing up with some negative leverage for sure. Got to double check his auto rate. Yeah, I mean he's definitely showing up a little bit overowned for sure. Yeah, 15%. 50. The thing is though, it's like 15% optimal for 3,200 is not horrible. But yeah, I mean, his ownership's going to be sky high, so there's definitely quite a bit of negative leverage. I think it really depends on lineup construction and like how you want to go about your, building the rest of your team. If you want to go a little bit less stars and scrubs and go a little bit more balanced, then you can get away from Wallace. But it's pretty tough because I don't think there's like any like really amazing smash like under 4K type players on the slate.
Well, you know what? We're gonna move on in a second, but let's go ahead and check out Lineup HQ. Let's sort by point per dollar, and typically that's where like the cheapies would pop. Grayson Allen's the next one. Grayson Allen is a little bit over 6x. The absence of Durant. Let's see. Garrison Matthews in the same game. He's 3.7 on DK. We're expecting around 22, 23 points. Again, he's very dependent on his threes. Mike Conley is just so cheap. Front end of the back-to-back facing Portland. They're both games in Portland. So I don't know if they'll rest Conley maybe tomorrow or tonight, or as far as I know, he's playing. Just sort of throwing it out there, maybe a thought for tomorrow. But yeah, those are our super cheapies with Keaton Wallace currently projected to be almost a 7x player at 3.2, which is obviously the more expensive you are, the more impressive it is if you're a 7x player. If you're 3K, 7x is not amazing. 21, 22, usable in cash. In tournaments, probably doesn't like implode your lineup, probably doesn't make your lineup, right? It's okay. It's fine. All right. Question in chat, Puppet Master says, will Boston run up the score? Yeah, because of the in-season tournament and the tiebreaker being point differential. I don't know. I mean, they might do it accidentally just because it's Atlanta and, Pritchard will be out there bombing away too. But yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean, it's point differential and it's total points scored. So
in a blow, do these guys get pulled?
Yeah, if it was like, so we saw this last year. We saw this last year, like the third, like the deciding game. They kind of sort of like they tried to like run up the score a little bit. I don't think they do it in the first game, but it's the same coach. Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is, if the Hawks get blown out, is there value to them letting their guys just play?
Oh, like the Hawks think they're going to win the in-season, they're going to move on from the bracket with Cleveland and Boston? Like maybe, it's a thought. It's a thought.
I was thinking more for Giannis's, because I obviously love Giannis, and I'm just like, if they blow the Raptors, is he gonna 11-3? What am I gonna need, right?
Yeah, you need like 70. I guess like 65 won't kill you, right? We'll get there. It is also the front of a back-to-back for Milwaukee too, and Giannis has been popping up in the injury report, here and there. They play Detroit tomorrow. Okay, we should move on. Let's talk about Miami. And speaking of Detroit, Miami and the Pistons. This is a 214 total. The Heat are about 1.5 point favorites here. We have Beef Stew. That's Isaiah Stewart officially in. Jalen Duren officially in for Detroit. Miami, no Jimmy Butler. We're expecting Rozier, Hero, Highsmith, Kevin Love, and Bam Adebayo to get the start here. Hero's been the best player for Miami this year. Just like he's been pretty good. Bam's kind of not great. Not great so far. Doesn't mean he can't turn around tonight. And Butler is not spectacular. And he's hurt. Bobby, the Heat, the Pistons, not the most exciting environments. Cunningham's been awesome too. He's been spectacular. Should always be in the mix if you're running a bunch of lineups. I don't think he's coming in too heavy either. 5% I'm seeing, which is a really positive number in tournaments. What do we got as far as the Pistons and the Heat, Bobby?
Yeah, I tagged Kate earlier in the day. Just been on fire, right? So for me, I think it's not the greatest matchup versus the Heat, but at that ownership from a tournament perspective, I don't hate it. my favorite play from this game is Tyler Hero, seeing a 1.8 usage bump with Jimmy off the court, like that a good bit. 7th most points to point guards Detroit currently allowing, so I'm in on Hero. I can play some Hero for sure. Outside of that, like there's really not too much I'm getting to from this game. I guess you can go to Jaden Ivey as well as Cade, but he would be the only one that I'd really have a little bit of interest in. Bam, I would imagine Bam's going to be pretty owned, but from a tournament perspective, I'm just staying away from Bam. 8K for Bam currently. I don't have a ton of interest in getting there.
We got 51% Bam on FanDuel. So you can only roster one center and one center only, and Bam's coming in at 51%. He's 7'8", and the golden rule, the general rule, if you're cheaper on FanDuel than you are on DK, you're a value. So yeah, he looks good at 7'8". The absence of Butler increases his ceiling for sure. We have a huge projection on him, like a really big projection. 36 minutes, 48 FanDuel points. That is a monster number. Not my job, but I probably wouldn't put that as a median projection. I'm not besmirching Bam, but that seems a little high for me. Tim, your thoughts as far as and DK, although he's popular as well too, not as popular, but 34%, just a really huge number on him. I don't know if it's going to hold at that number. I think you're supposed to be under that.
Bam's opto score on DK is less than 10%, and he's checking in with over 30% projected ownership. So I mean that's really significant negative leverage. It was kind of weird. Like when I was breaking down the slate, I didn't even really consider Bam, and he's like projecting for like sky high ownership. So
I think
go ahead.
I think he's 100% in a fade situation. I figured that's what you were about to say.
The numbers would certainly agree with you on that.
Even on FanDuel, 100% fade.
I haven't run anything for FanDuel yet.
Yeah.
How much was he again?
75? He's 7'8". It's a really good price for him.
I know he's gonna be mega chalk on FanDuel.
50%. That's what we're saying, which is huge.
That's huge. And then I primarily play single entry, so when single entry is gonna be even higher, probably is gonna be like 70.
You're supposed to go lower. You're supposed to like not play him in single entry, I think.
You're probably right. And the thing is, I mean, I'm just talking about DK right now. There's a lot of centers that I like that are cheaper, that are not going to get the ownership. So I initially kind of look at this slate like I'm going to be paying up elsewhere, and I'm going to be paying kind of in the mid range for my center position.
I also think our number is going to go down. Our ownership is it gets more and more refined the closer we get to lock, and my guess is that has to lower a little bit, but that's just my guess. It's not my job.
I do agree with Bobby though. I do like Tyler Hero quite a bit. 7,400 point guard, shooting guard. He's showing up with a little bit of positive leverage in Sims. I don't mind him at all. I want to get to players that are playing against Detroit, and Hero would be that guy for me. Don't have much interest other than that. And I don't mind the Cade call. Like he's always fine. I don't mind Jaden Ivey either. But in single entry, I'm not going to be getting to any Detroit.
Yeah. Cade is the one I would be most interested in. Of course, it's a salary thing, and Duran and Stu kind of eat off each other, similar to like Atlanta, Kungwu and Capella, that kind of thing. And they're both available. They're both going to probably chop up 48 minutes, most likely. I probably don't play either one of those. Harris is just sort of fine. I don't really have much else here as far as the Detroit. Bobby, you mentioned Cunningham. Anybody else in Detroit you like or not really?
Not really. I said Ivy a little bit, but that would be it. Hero's in a situation where like people are just going to play. I don't think we're going to get Hero as chalky as we might. Well, I don't think. What do we have for ownership currently on Hero?
11, I think.
Yeah,
a little north of 10.
I think that's a pretty good number. I like him at 7.4, 11% if that holds.
Me too, especially because like people are going to wait on these Phoenix guys at shooting guard. I would imagine the shooting guard, small forward. position with Grayson Allen and Bradley Beal. Also, Devin Booker has shooter eligibility. So, like, Hero could get squeezed. I think Hero's a really good tournament play.
Okay, let's move on. Hornets, Magic. Magic already gave us their starting lineup. Suggs, KCP, Franz Wagner, Tristan da Silva, Goga Batadze, the Goga machine. He's been freaking awesome. Filling in nicely for Wendell Carter. Wendell Carter is still out for Orlando. Of course, Banchero is still out as well. Pulling up my injury report for Orlando. See if I missed anybody that's off the dome. Yeah, McClung. Do you guys know McClung was on Orlando? Yeah, the former the dunk guy. He'll probably be back, I imagine. He's no longer in Philadelphia. Yeah, Charlotte. Bridges is out, of course. Cordy Martin is questionable. He has an illness. I missed that one. Trey Mann is also questionable. Richards, of course, is out. Williams hasn't played a second this season. Man, LaMelo has been taking so many shots, and he, of course, is the offense at this point, especially without Bridges. It's a similar situation, kind of, sort of, somewhat to Jalen Johnson versus Boston. I don't really like picking on Orlando. Of course, one of the better defensive teams in the league. Their offense has sputtered a bit without Banchero. But if I'm playing full freight here, Tim, for LaMelo, which, by the way, like last game, 30 shots. The previous game, 29 shots. He is firing away. And he can always get there with a double-double with the assists as well. And he sprinkles in some boards as well for a guard. Yeah, it's not an ideal spot, but I think he can overcome it. 50-plus DK points in, 4 of his last 5 games. The one he didn't get there was a shellacking by Minnesota. Yeah, Hornets and the Magic. Batadze is one of my favorite centers.
That's who I was talking about when I was not interested in Bam. Was
you want Goga?
Yeah, he's the guy that I initially flocked to when I was looking at the slate. So it's Goga. Goga to me is in a fantastic spot. Still a little bit too cheap in my opinion. Only 5,300. But yeah, I mean Goga's like my favorite like mid-range center. It might be my favorite overall points per dollar center as well. I mean, I also like Nurkic quite a bit also. So those two for me are kind of like neck and neck.
You feel like it's another conversation, but you feel like Nurkic is going to play. Last game, he tried to play. He played terribly, and he couldn't make it through the first half. And they started Plumlee in the second half. I'm concerned. Of course, there's no Walker Kessler on the other side, which I think is a bump for him if he does go. I don't know what to do with that, and I think that's a 10 o'clock game or a 9 o'clock game, and probably
it's a 9 o'clock game. It's a 9 o'clock game, and I really wish it was a 10 o'clock game because then you could just throw them in utility and then swap them out for whoever, because we also have Gafford and Lively news because I think Lively's questionable. I wouldn't mind playing Gafford if Lively's out. So I mean that would be a really, really easy 1v1 swap between Nurkic and Gafford. But we might not have that information. So it's a really tough decision. But you don't have to worry about any of that with Goga. So I'm definitely going to be playing Goga in my center slot at least in my single entry team and maybe my cash game team as well.
And I think there's a chance Goga plays a few more minutes than he's projected for. Like he's been playing like 14, 15 first half minutes here. He's been involved some blowouts to the Magic where like I'm pulling up his last game. Did not play the fourth, did not sniff the court since the middle of the third. And he played 21 and change. I think there was still like a 7 minutes, run there in the fourth quarter if that game was close. And he's a really, really strong fantasy point minute player. And also he's facing Charlotte, which is an ideal spot. Yeah, I like Goga a ton. And if he's not going to be, what do we have as far as ownership for Goga? Where do we have it currently? 9%. That's really tasty if that holds.
I think he's going to get higher than that.
So do I.
But I still like, even if he came in at 20%, like I think I'd still be overweight on Goga in this spot. They're like going against pretty sure Charlotte's the third worst interior defense in the league, at least around the rim. So I think Goga's definitely in play for tournaments. Really strong play today.
What about the rest of the Magic, Bobby? Franz Wagner I like a lot. It's just, again, now the price is kind of caught up with him at 8.84 now, but he's another guy that can play a bunch. The absence of Banchero, the ceiling's up, and Suggs is another one too, and he's not 5% ownership for Suggs at 7.4. I think blowouts have kept some of these guys' prices down a little bit and made their game log look a little bit weaker. But Suggs and Goga and the matchup, I like Franz too. I wish it was a little bit cheaper, but I'm interested in all three of those guys in the Magic. Bobby.
Yeah, I think they make a good bit of sense. I even think in larger field stuff you can throw in Mo Wagner. The two Wagner brothers are fine. I think like Mo is also going to get minutes against this weak interior defense too. So that's why I don't mind him. And if you're playing like the $8 on DK to get into your player pool. But Suggs, I think he's also in play. LaMelo would be the only play from the Hornets that I have any interest in currently.
No Brandon Miller for you?
I guess you can make a case for Miller. I'm only playing one team tonight though, so
okay.
I get the kids and yeah.
All good. Grant Williams, another guy that's kind of popping to some degree. He's fine, but not something to get really, really excited about. Tim, anything else in this game you want to mention as far as Orlando and Charlotte?
Not really. I'm not a huge fan of this game. I think the Magic kind of handled this one pretty easily.
First half of the ESPN doubleheader. New York at Philly, 212.5 is the total. New York is a 3-point favorite. Joel Embiid is back. He's expected to play basketball this evening. Tyrese Maxey is out for Philly. As far as New York, Miles McBride, campaign, they're both currently questionable. Precious, of course, has been out the entire season. Same deal with Mitrob. But New York just plays their 5 or 6 guys into the ground. The minute projection for Embiid, look, if Bobby's only playing one lineup, I don't play a lot of lineups. Tim doesn't play a lot of lineups. I'm guessing none of us are playing Embiid. We're projecting 28 minutes. Maybe he gets to 30, maybe he plays 26. But they want full price, and I'm not getting full minutes, and that doesn't check out for me. I'm assuming it's a no. It's a no for Embiid for anybody.
Big no in this game. I think only Bridges and McBride are the two players that I would even consider playing at this point. I guess you could throw Brunson in larger field stuff.
And isn't McBride? Have we got news on McBride and Payne yet? Dean?
They're both questionable.
Okay, so we haven't gotten the news on that yet because that could end up being somewhat important. Just because
if they're both out, then what? Like I got who else? 48 minutes.
Does Brunson even come off the floor?
Yeah, Brunson might not come off the floor.
Right? I mean, no, I'm serious. I'm serious.
Yeah, for me, like I think there was better. If you make that case, I think that Brunson's a lot stronger of a play than what his current ownership's at.
We are projecting 37 for Brunson, 36 for Cat, 38 Hart, 38 Bridges, 37 OG. It's just so silly. The only guys on the bench that were projecting to play, I guess, Kolek for 3, which is maybe he'll play, maybe he won't. Sims at 12, some backup 5. Campaign 12 if he plays. McBride 27. Like he's the guy that would do something. But yeah, I guess Kolek might get some more run if we lose McBride, but nothing is noteworthy, I don't think.
I would assume that if you lose McBride and if you lose Payne, Brunson's going to play well over 40 minutes. I don't.
What's
think
well over 40? You just well over 40? That's 43.
Yeah, why not?
He doesn't come off the floor anyways, and then you're taking away his backups, and it's a tournament. And we're talking about the tournament,
right?
They could just be like, all right, we're just going to try to score as many points as possible.
It's also an ESPN game. When ESPN national games, no, it's TNT. I keep saying ESPN, it's TNT. The same point, though, the national games get longer commercials, so longer breaks during the commercials. I don't know if coaches care about such things. I don't know if Tibbs cares about such things, but I think it's noteworthy to some degree. Your player gets an extra 30 seconds or a minute or so to rest while there's more commercials running for those national games. We saw Paul George get up to, I think, 33 last time. The game went overtime. They benched him in OT. That was essentially his cap. He's kind of worked his way up. But I guess he can play 32, 33 at this point now, but not get any more. Andre Drummond was such a massive disappointment, by the way. He was so bad in the absence of Embiid. We saw Yabusele dancing bear replace him multiple times, close for him multiple times. We don't have to worry about those guys now. McCain was pretty good, but he takes a hit as well, I would imagine, with usage wise with Embiid being back. What are you projecting minutes wise for McCain? 26. Somebody tagged him as a cheapie. That's Stevie.
Stevie did.
Yeah, he's somebody to watch for. I just don't know if he need it, but he's not terrible at 4-3 if you're looking for a cheap pivot. 1%.
I think he's a decent pivot off of like Matthews.
Yeah,
I mean, I wouldn't hate that in a large field or even single entry.
Potential foul trouble when you're facing Embiid, that's an issue to some degree for Cat, I guess. But these guys are not going to really be. Well, Cat's getting 20%. He's the biggest number. I like Cat, 36, 37 minutes or so. I'm probably not going there in my so many lineups. I'm not going to if I have that about 8-7 left at center. That's how my build's working. So be it. I'll play him. I'm not going to blow the lineup up, but don't really love it. A little bit concerned about foul stuff against Embiid, who draws a fair bit of fouls. All right.
Don't Cat and Embiid have a little history?
I feel like they might. A little kerfuffle. Have they gotten into it before?
I think they've gotten into. I could be wrong.
Embiid is in a really bad mood as well. So
yeah,
he's bad at Philly. He doesn't like the way the city's treating him. I'm curious what kind of ovation or lack thereof he gets. Philly historically, can be tough on players that they see that aren't, playing up to their standard.
He deserves the hate.
Wow.
I thought you were going to say something pro New York, Steven.
No, Embiid.
Yeah, I'm saying, yeah, you think it's deserved for Embiid?
He deserves the hate. How can your superstar, how can you say your superstar, your big name guy can't play back-to-back games?
Well, if you see him, he's a big guy. He's 30 now,
Doesn't matter. It's your one job. Like, you're getting paid
more than
most people make in their life in 1 year to play basketball, dude.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know if he can play it successfully is the issue on back-to-backs, but I see it both ways. But, if this helps them be healthier come playoffs, then maybe it's a smart thing. Maybe it's speaking of the long game.
If he doesn't get hurt last year, he's the MVP, correct? Like that's right.
Who was it Joker MVP again last year? I think begrudgingly. I think there's voter fatigue against Joker, but he keeps getting there because
I don't know who it was,
on
but
the ridiculous run.
I thought prior to Embiid getting hurt, he could have been the MVP.
Yeah, I think when he won the MVP, he probably shouldn't have won it, right? But then he was even better the next year when he was healthy. Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else of note here as far as New York and Philly, Tim, or shall we move on?
I think we can move on.
Just checking the interwebs, seeing if anything is changing as far as news. They gave Jared Allen a leg. He's questionable for tomorrow. He's been bad and benched back-to-back games. Definitely something to monitor there in Cleveland. Maybe he's been playing hurt, or they just want to give him an excuse to give him a day off or something. Who knows? Toronto is taking on Milwaukee. The best play on the slate, raw points wise, is Giannis. The matchup is good. Of course, Milwaukee is without Middleton. We haven't seen Middleton all season long. And the bigger one is Lillard. No Dame tonight. Andre Jackson is officially probable now with his hip. Gary Trent also probable with his back. We're expecting AJ Green, Andre Jackson, Prince, Giannis, and Lopez to start. I think that could change. I think we can see Trent start. I think we can see maybe Connaughton start. I don't know, but I would not assume that's set in stone. But those guys, you got to project somebody, and that's who we're projecting. Toronto, no Scotty Barnes. We haven't seen Kellyo all season long. No Bruce Brown. We haven't seen him all season either. Quickly was rolled out or rolled in, or is he still questionable?
He's out. He's out.
Okay, good. So we are, you said Davion Mitchell, Grady Dick, Agbaji, RJ Barrett, and Jakob Poeltl for Toronto. Milwaukee, 8-point favorites here, Bobby. How much Giannis is too much Giannis? You said you're playing one lineup. I mean,
I think I'm probably getting away from it now.
Oh,
yeah, I was pretty bullish on it. I will say this, averaging 36 minutes with Dame off the court this year, 66 fantasy points. It's tough to get away from. Like you want to play him. Toronto's horrible versus bigs. Everything goes up. Usage rate to 37%, rebounding rate 23%. Like everything's going through the roof in this scenario for Giannis with Dame off the court this season. But he needs a lot of points. I guess you have the value, but it doesn't seem like this isn't this current NBA is like it was, say, 3 or 4 NBA DFS is like it was 3 or 4 years ago. Those middling builds get there. So I'm not saying I'm building a middling build, but I could see myself getting away from Giannis on the slate, especially with just having one team. But if you're building more, he's a great play.
So one lineup, Bobby, what's the number like that you start feeling uncomfortable? Like you don't play Giannis, he scores 60 points, you're fine. He scores 62, that's fine. What's the number where you're like, oh boy, I wish I played Giannis? Is it 70? Is that the one where you start to a little bit more of a sphincter clincher?
73, maybe.
73.
If he has 79, I'm just probably closing the laptop.
Go to bed, fire up Netflix.
Yeah.
Whatever works for you.
If he's 70 would be the number that I'm just dead.
Tim,
he's the best player on the slate.
70 you can survive. I think 70 you can survive, but you probably want him at 70. It's sort of a push-pull because it depends on the players around that that work salary-wise. It becomes like a 2v2. And what are the 9K guys that you're playing? You're playing 2 of those. It's a tricky little puzzle. Tim, you have an official answer for that? Are you playing Giannis in your one lineup? You play one main lineup?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely 100% playing him in cash games. I am leaning on playing Giannis in my primary team as well. But I do agree with Bobby. There's like some really, really nice lineups that I'm seeing that are just like more balanced builds. So I'm definitely not disagreeing on that point. There's some really, really, really great plays in that like 6 to 8K range that look very strong. But I just think that Giannis is going to have to I think he's going to play point guard. I think he's going to do everything. So I think that 70 plus is the better than not, outcome. So I'm pretty high on Giannis. So I probably am going to be playing him on my single entry team as well.
He's probably a 12K player. He shouldn't be 11. He shouldn't be 11-3 in this situation.
I kind of agree with that. Yeah.
Is he hitting our number one optimal in SimLabs if you run it, Tim?
All right. So I have not run them, Bobby. The problem is I'm still getting quickly. I don't know if they've updated the Sims yet. So I can't
give it a refresh.
I'm not really sure if they've okay. So I will rerun them right now.
In 20, I just reran them. I did large field high results range, I guess. And he's hitting the first optimal, and I'm getting 15% out of 20 teams.
He's like the 10th best point per dollar play on DK right now, which is a wild thing to say when you consider his price is 11-3. He's about the 10th
not
best
hitting
guy.
a lot of these teams, though. He's hitting the number one optimal, but he's not hitting a lot of these teams. Only 15%.
I'll run what I have as far as lineup HQ. I did add some variant stuff to it, so curious how many he hits. I made 77. I don't know why I picked that number, but he is in 29% of the 77 lineups I made, with no restrictions as far as this team, that team, forcing so many players. It's just I added a little bit of variance as far as their number, as far as their outcome. Keaton Wall is still the number one player hitting. I don't know if I like that.
He's hitting everything.
I don't feel like, we'll see. If he starts, I'll feel a lot better. And we don't know. Well, we'll see if he starts tonight. We did get news as far as Embiid, not surprising. They're expecting 25 to 30 minutes out of Embiid, according to Nurse. Paul George, not quite out of the woods with minutes restriction Tuesday per Coach Nurse. Okay, but didn't he play 33 last game? And they did bench him for overtime. So I don't know if he could play 33. That's basically there. But all right, fair enough. Nurse once upon a time would run his guys into the ground in Toronto, if you remember, several years ago.
Yep.
Do we like any of these cheapies, Tim, on Milwaukee? Is it kind of a wait and see who starts? Is there anybody you're excited about playing?
Definitely
Green, Jackson?
definitely not nobody that I'm excited to be playing. Yeah, I think that these Milwaukee guards projections are a little bit fragile.
Mhm.
I really have no interest in Gary Trent. Somebody in chat called him like the best cardio guy. I completely agree with that. Not a huge Andre Jackson guy either. So it's I'm really not that excited to getting to any of these guys outside of Giannis.
Yeah. Bobby, you like it? I think one of them gets there probably, but I don't want to play Jackson or Green or Prince or Trent, or if Rollins somehow starts. He's 3K, but I don't think that's going to happen. It's none of it feels comfortable. Bobby, anybody can you power rank them? I don't know.
Tim had the best description. Like, they're all very fragile. AJ Green would probably be my favorite. Then Prince. That's really it. I don't want to get to too many of these guys.
You like anybody on Toronto? I think Barrett's an interesting run back if we play Giannis. Don't really love Pirtle. I think Pirtle's fine, but I don't really like playing a Pirtle type center against Lopez.
Yeah, that seems bad. I think Barrett's the right call. Like you were on a Barrett. I think when I ran the Sims in 20 teams, I got 10% Barrett. So I think Barrett would be the one that you'd want to get to.
Tim, you have a favorite Raptor? Is that not a fun question to answer?
It's definitely not a fun question to answer, but I mean, Barrett's certainly your guy. Taylor Smith tagged him, and has great usage with no Quickly on the court and no Barnes on the court. 33.2% usage rate. So I mean, that's really nice. 8,300 seems expensive, but if they stay in this game, it's gotta be because of him. So I don't mind Barrett. We got a question in the chat, like, how about like 1% Jakob Poeltl? I mean, I don't think it's horrible.
No, it's not horrible.
It's not horrible. If you want to take a shot on him, if you're making multiple teams, I don't hate it. But some of these cheaper Toronto pieces, I have no interest in.
3 games left. Crunch time coming about 20 minutes or so. Phoenix in Utah, 227.5 is the total. The Jazz are 5-point dogs here. Keontae George is questionable. No, he's probable now with his foot. Walker Kessler, they gave him a hip, so he's not playing basketball tonight. They said Colin Sexton is available. He's got a finger. As far as Phoenix, the big one, of course, is Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is out with a calf because they ran him into the ground, and he's not young. And he's answering. Do you see KD can't help himself on Twitter? You guys catch this? Everybody gives him a hard time, and don't be that guy, really. I know now it's just like a thing, but people are giving him a hard time on Twitter, like, oh, you can't hit your stupid over. You don't care about the people, for doing their parlays and stuff like that. This is what happens when every state ratifies sports gambling. It's just people are giving the business, and then like LeBron. I don't know if you saw LeBron. Somebody in the crowd. This is amazing. Yeah. It's like yeah. Somebody in the crowd's like yelling at me, like, I need one more rebound. And LeBron's like, yeah, I got that guy one more rebound, and it's a fun little soundbite. But now you're opening up Pandora's box, LeBron. Every game, people are going to be yelling at you. How many? And nobody gets the under. Nobody says like stop rebounding. Yeah, they were clowning KD for it. He just can't help himself. He keeps responding and telling him to get a job. Like, stop being an idiot. And it's got to be annoying for him, but. Yeah, just a little side note. All right, Phoenix, Utah, Booker, big upgrade as far as usage. Beal as well. Bobby, you were talking about the Suns. Good matchup here against Utah as well. We're expecting John Collins to start, and I'm really interested at power forward. He's power forward / center. Markkanen's interesting. I don't mind this game as a little game stack. The Jazz are an uncomfortable team to lean in on because they're hard to predict as far as their minutes, but I think Booker looks good. Beal looks good. If Nurkic plays, he looks really good. I don't know if he's playing or not. We'll see. If not, maybe Plumlee. Royce O'Neal could be interesting as kind of like a 7-7-7 kind of guy to sort of get you there with some stocks as well. Yeah, Tim, you sounded like Bobby, you had some takes as far as the Suns. How do we feel about Phoenix and Utah?
Yeah, really good spot for Booker. 8,800. Seeing pretty in terms of like when Katie's off the court. He's at 27% usage rate, so he's averaging 1.22 fantasy points per minute. I think Booker's a really good play on the slate, and he's someone I'm going to definitely try to get to. I think I may like Nurkic more, and the reason being is I don't think as many people are going to be playing Nurkic, where I think a lot of the field will be playing Booker.
People are afraid. I'm afraid.
Yeah, but I still think that I have interest in Nurkic and probably a little bit more than Booker, and I probably rank Nurkic ahead of Booker, where the field's definitely going to rank Booker ahead of Nurkic.
So it's a two-pronged thing. It's like not even that he's got to play. Is he going to re-aggravate it again like he did last time and just kind of tap out? And like I shouldn't say it like that because he's a tough dude. He just didn't. It wasn't like he couldn't. He just couldn't play anymore. He could not play effectively anymore. I imagine they'll be smart about it and like understand if that's a scenario that may happen again. They would just sit him. But people just don't want to wait as well. That's the other thing. And like they don't want to wait for that news. And they want to do their thing. And it's a 9:00 game. Tim, what do you got? I think you mentioned him as well. You mentioned Nurkic, and
I love. I just love this game.
To him?
I love this game in general. It's one of my favorite games on the entire slate. I'm getting to more John Collins at center than really anybody else. And obviously you don't have to play him at center. You just play him power forward. So, I mean, I think he's in a fantastic spot. I love Nurkic. I'm not sure if he's going to play. Obviously that's kind of a tricky situation to figure out. Devin Booker, definitely cash game core guy on both FanDuel and DK. Absolutely love Booker today. I don't mind Bradley Beal. I think both of those guys are in fantastic spots. Not getting outside of Collins. I'm not really getting to a lot of Utah, but I mean, I would play this Phoenix Suns team heavily if I was MMEing, and definitely get to a couple of pieces in cash games and single entry. I think I kind of like Grayson Allen more than Garrison Matthews. I know Matthews projects better, but Allen's is simming better than Matthews, at least what I'm getting currently. So I prefer getting to Allen over Matthews.
I like that call.
Revenge game? Did he play for Utah for a year? Am I making that up? I feel like he might have played for Utah.
Yeah, I think he did.
We're giving him 24 minutes. We're not starting him, but I think there's a chance he plays a little bit more than that. I think it's a shot. We're projecting Dunn to draw the start. Allen coming in at 15%, Beal coming in at 30%. The Collins one, again, I understand why the number is where it's at, but I think there's a chance he plays more than 27. Like we got 27 minutes for Collins, and he's been really good this year per minute. It's just that he hasn't played as many minutes as you want. Utah motivation is always a question as well. Is Walker Kessler actually hurt? I don't know, but I made this pitch several times. They do not want to win, but more so than other teams. They do not want to win this year. There's a lot of teams that are quote unquote tanking. I think Utah for sure is, and Collins, if he's playing too well, might get almost punished to some degree. Tyus Jones is another one. I don't know if you guys mentioned Tyus Jones. He's pretty interesting, getting a bump. A lot of guys are getting bumps with KD being out. Minutes are certainly solidified in the 30s. This game looks really good. Ownership-wise, it's going to be there. No, not one player really flying off the board, but 27% Booker, 26 for Nurkic. That's, of course, flexible depending on the injury stuff. Allen at 25, Beal at 20, and Utah 19%. And Markkanen at 9%. We've certainly seen him have some ceiling games too. And 7-4, we've certainly paid more than that. Again, it's just a question of, well, they got to be willing to play him. If they're going to play him 33 minutes, I think that's pretty interesting. And I don't hate Royce O'Neal, especially if Nurkic is out. We did have an if-then setup. I don't know if you guys saw this, but Grayson Allen would get a couple extra minutes. Plumlee would get 28, according to our if-then. 27 for O'Neal. Okogie and Oso would get some run as well, too. Like, you don't really worry about those guys, but just trying to think where those minutes fill in. Do you guys think Plumlee is interesting if we get news that Nurkic is out, the Plum Dog? Is he somebody that we're considering, Tim?
I can see the theory behind it. I don't know if I want to do it or not, though. I like Rudy Gobert is too cheap in a really good matchup. We all obviously had that Gafford Lively situation also. So there's these, and then also I like Goga. So there are these already kind of like mid-range to cheapish type centers that I like more than than Plumlee. I can definitely see if you're like backloading and you want to get to like 2 or 3 Suns in your lineup. I have no issue if people want to play Plumlee, but not really someone that I'm going to be building around if that news hits.
Cody Martin officially in for Charlotte. Trey Mann out. So 21 Trey Mann minutes will have to be distributed. We'll see if that changes anything. Don't know. Is that going to lift anybody up enough to make them all of a sudden? I don't think so. Maybe I'm wrong. Like Seth Curry. We're not playing Seth Curry. Yeah, we'll see what the projection team does with that. But Mann is out. They want to pass that along. 2 more games to go. We have Minnesota taking on Portland. First half of a back-to-back. They're running it back again tomorrow night in Portland. 221 is the total. Portland, about a 9-point dog. Speaking of teams that are tanking, they're also just bad. DeAndre Ayton is questionable. That's a midday downgrade. Thibault out. Who cares? Minnesota fully healthy on the players that matter. Tim, T-Wolves, Portland. You mentioned Gobert here. I don't think anybody's playing Anthony Edwards. You can always play Ant for sure. Portland is doing weird things. They made that big trade for not big trade, but they traded away some, a lottery pick, I think, for Avdia, or close to a lottery pick, and then they benched him. I don't know. That's weird. We've seen Robert Williams possibly could be a thing if Ayton doesn't go. I don't know how many minutes they can actually give him, but of note, I suppose. And he is power forward eligible, which is useful. Not just center, but power forward eligible. Tim, Minnesota and the Blazers.
Yeah, I mean, this team is simming pretty well. I got to a lot of Mike Conley in my initial builds. Got to a lot of Rudy Gobert and Julius Randle. So I think this team is very, very strong. I think that price tag on Rudy Gobert is far too low. So definitely even Naz Reid is simming pretty well at 5,200. So I mean, across the board, this Minnesota team looks very, very strong. Yeah, I think my favorite's probably Gobert. My second favorite would probably be Randall. I'm not a huge Conley guy, but I know that he's so cheap. So the algo is also not a Conley believer. So at 4,200, I think he's a okay play, but it's definitely Randall and Gobert for me.
Bobby?
Yeah, so I think Anthony Edwards is super interesting in tournaments just because, like Tim said, Conley's simming well, Randall's simming well, DiVincenzo's simming well in our stuff. The one guy that's not is Anthony Edwards. It's the shooting guard position. The Blazers are getting absolutely crushed versus shooting guard. So I don't know. I like Anthony Edwards. They're all good plays from this Minnesota team. But from a tournament perspective, I think Anthony Edwards is super interesting. And we talked about a lot of these Suns guys at the shooting guard position gaining a lot of ownership. So Edwards can't be more than 10% on the slate, and he could easily be the highest scoring player on the slate. So I like Anthony Edwards a really good bit in tournaments tonight.
I can't believe Conley is currently 25% owned. I understand he's cheap, but man, I don't want to play him. Tim, you didn't sound excited about it.
He's probably the worst button for me to push in NBA DFS is Mike Conley. When he hits stuff, it's I'm very skeptical.
What about Taurean Prince? You feel better clicking that button?
No, that's another bad button. But I think I might like him more than Conley because usually he's cheaper.
Also, is that a position that isn't as popular, right? There's more opportunity cost typically, depending on the slate, right? At point guard than there is at small forward. But yeah, I was messing with some stuff and Prince. Ugh. But this is just, turns out, live in the world with salary cap, and that's the things you have to do sometimes to make stuff work. Let's talk about possibly the most fun game in the evening, back half of the TNT doubleheader, Dallas and Golden State. We got a 235 total. It is high. It is tight. Warriors are 2-point favorites here. Do not know the injury status currently of Dallas's Derek Lively. He's missed several games. He's questionable with his shoulder. TJ Washington, he's got that knee. He's doubtful, assuming Washington's out. Lively's got a shot. If he doesn't go, I guess Gaffer gets more run. It's probably a bad spot for Gaffer with Golden State, who goes smaller. Probably not a great Gafford spot, but he might be able to get there just via minutes if we lose Lively, who's currently questionable. The only one for Golden State is Wiggins, is currently questionable right now. And again, if we don't trust Steve Kerr, their starting lineup is Curry, Melton, Wiggins, healthy, presumed, Draymond, and TJD. Bobby, what do you think of the Mavs and Golden State? Luka is certainly one of the pivots away from Giannis, different position, but projects really, really strong. We've seen Kyrie get loose several times, 40-plus points in the bucket last game. The return of Clay, whatever's left of him. Najee Marshall gets a fair bit of minutes, especially if Lively's out. How do we have the Warriors and the Mavs? Anybody projecting well and be likely to land in one of your lineups?
Yeah, Clay, I think, is a very good play on the slate. He's definitely going to be someone. That's another he's also shooting guard, small forward eligible. 5,100. I'll play the revenge narrative. I think Klay Thompson's fine. It's a place where he's going to shoot in a place where he's pretty much he's very comfortable in Golden State. We can say that. So I don't mind Clay. Don't mind Steph. Don't mind Luka. If I had to pick between them, I think I would prefer Luka to Steph, but I think Steph is usually one of those plays you kind of just skip over in tournaments, and the answer is he's fine and you can play him whenever. But tonight, I think you can actually play him, and 8,300 is a good tag. This is what we're talking about with these. Everyone's going to go to Giannis at 11-3, but if I can play Steph and I have run backs in this game, and this game stays close, I might not need 65 from Giannis when the field's going to take it, if that's where he ends up and they blow out Toronto. He gets 80,
is there a chance?
But yeah,
is there a chance we get an extra minute or two, Tim? I'm sorry, Bobby. We get an extra minute or two out of Steph with, the in-season tournaments, the NBA Cup, the Emirates Cup, whatever they want to call it. How much do they care? It's a TNT game. It's against Clay. Again, it's hard to say, but maybe Curry plays 35 minutes, right? Maybe he plays an extra minute or two, and it doesn't sound like a lot, but those extra minutes certainly do matter. It's an island game that they didn't play yesterday. They're not playing tomorrow. Same deal with Dallas. It feels like it's bigger than out of the 1 of 82. It's like it's bigger than, Tuesday night in Toronto. Is that something we've considered here, Bobby, as far as somebody like Steph? I feel like this is just a big showcase game for the league. Maybe I'm just making more of it than it actually is.
I think that you can definitely play both Steph and Clay and play that narrative that they're going to start chucking threes, and I think it's perfectly fine. I am trying to get to Steph Curry, and usually only have one team, so it looks like he might be on it. I don't know. I'm just trying to find ways to get off of Giannis. What do we have for ownership on Steph? 11. He's going to be around 11%.
No, he's going to be higher than that.
We just got a new batch, so give it a refresh.
Okay.
Just came in a few minutes ago.
All
so
right.
I don't know how much it's changed or how much it's not changed, but as far as this game specifically, we're getting Steph at 18% on DK, Clay at 16, and 28% for Luka. Wiggins currently 13, Melton 12.
You have Steph at 20.
Say it again.
Maybe I'm behind. Yeah, I'm behind.
Yeah, it's about 9. Yeah, close enough. 18, 19. Melton's an interesting cheapie. 20. It's tricky because you don't know if he's going to close. He might close. Draymond's another interesting one. Who maybe they give Draymond a couple extra minutes just because this game feels a little bit bigger than the regular season standard game. I don't know. But yeah, Luka's the most popular player in this game. He's salary-wise, I think he's a pivot away from Giannis. I don't think you can play both. I guess there's ways you can. I haven't, got there. I don't know if we have the right value plays. You probably fall in the same build a lot of other people would. but salary constraints for sure if you're trying to get both those guys in your lineup.
I just ran a couple Giannis Luka teams, and I mean, I don't really like them that much.
Interesting. You were thinking the same thing.
Well, no, I mean, I thought that Luke would be like lower projected own than this, but he's projecting very similar in ownership to Giannis, so he's not really that much of a pivot. Obviously, like you can play, but I mean, you're gonna be playing a lot of the same guys, like you said, like like Wallace and Matthews and all that whole crew. Yeah, I don't really love the teams that I'm getting with Giannis and Luka.
We have an if-then set up if Wiggins doesn't go. Kuminga looks pretty good. We would project him for 28 minutes. He would be the only other player. Melton kind of on the fringe. Curry, Kuminga, and Draymond and Melton on the fringe as far as being positive DK values. Again, we don't know if he's going to play or not. I see a question in chat about Aideen's asking about Donovan Klingon with the thought process of maybe we lose Ayton. There's nothing set up for that one, unfortunately. Like if it happens, they'll change it in lineup HQ, but you can't have an if-then set up for everybody. And most of them we have already been settled. We talked about the Nurkic one as well, like Booker and Beal look pretty strong. Grayson Allen as well. Okay. Crunch time should be coming here in just a few minutes. Should mention again, by the way, I'll just drop this one more time. Speaking of Clay, I put a tweet out there. You get yourself a week free of RotoGrinders Premium if you answer in the tweet. Tell me exactly how many points he scores tonight. The tiebreaker is how many DK points. So go ahead and answer that question. I'll drop it in chat. And again, do answer on the tweet. You can of course just pay. You can pay for RG Premium. You can do that. Why not? You can get yourself for a limited time. You get a month of combo access for $79 and change, which is just $5 more than NBA Premium. So do not pass up on that value. I should also mention, before Crunch Time comes in, they should be here momentarily. But if there's any questions, we will answer those. Also want to mention Splash. You've heard of, we talk about Splash a lot. They are the fastest growing peer-to-peer growing gaming platform in the United States as well as Canada. Shout out TJ. We have an exclusive offer for those that have not signed up just yet to try their newest quick pick games, similar to DFS Pick'em games where you build 2, 3, 4 type picks. Choose either more or less. You receive a payout of 3x, 6x, 12x, depending on how many you get right. From now through November 17th, that's about 5 days. New users who sign up using the promo code ROTO10. ROTO10 is the promo code. 20% off all quick pick entry fees in November, back as playable bonuses on December 1st. The bonus maxes out at $1,000. This is the most significant rakeback offer we've seen in years in DFS. If you want to take advantage of it, only available if you use that promo code ROTO10 on Splash. Check out the link for more descriptions. Lastly, I do want to mention Shot Quality. Shot Quality, if you want access to some of the most advanced NBA data in the market, get Shot Quality projections for lineup HQ, rotogrinders.com/shot quality. You get a month access or $40. The entire season's $200, or you go ahead and get a 3-day trial, a 3-day sample, less than $10, $9 and change. Crunch time knocking on the door, but I do want to get Tim's player who's breaking the slate. Tim, you've done this show before. You knew this was coming. I did not catch you off guard. You got somebody ready for me. Who is breaking the slate?
I'll say Rudy Gobert goes for over 45 DK points.
Is 45 for Rudy Gobert? Is that breaking the slate? Is it breaking? It's
all right. I'll say 50. I mean, at 64, at 6,400, Dean, 45.
It's good. I if you told me I'm getting 45 points at 6'4",
I didn't want to pick anyone chalky either. So
okay, fair enough. I shouldn't be as ambitious as you want to be. Bobby, do you think Giannis is breaking the slate? Who do you think is breaking the slate?
I'm gonna go Steph Curry.
I like the Steph call. Is Gobert currently in your lineup, Tim? Is that, I'm assuming you're trying to speak it into existence?
Yeah, I mean, I probably am. I don't know what to do. I mean, it's so tough. There's so many good centers, but I do love Gobert, so I am going to be playing him.
Who's the player where we're still waiting for crunch time? Who's the player, Tim, that you're most afraid of not having?
It's probably going to be Luka.
Yeah, it's a good answer. Bobby, same question.
Giannis, I think, is the easy one.
Yeah. I haven't made. What if we don't play either one of those guys? I'm sure we kind of bounce back and forth with the idea without playing Giannis or Luka in a lineup. But yeah, that's a good question. Yep, Butto is asking the question I asked you at the top of the show, Bobby. Yeah, we've had Britt in that house. We've had Cardi in that house. What the stories that house can tell, right? I don't know if is there any other DFS players lurking, is hanging out like sleep, in the background with their laptops? We can't see them.
There's no one lurking. I rented it from Britt. Mangone had it 1 week at RPS. Everyone shared it.
We have crunch time coming in, so let's go ahead and bring in crunch time right now. Gary Trent officially in, Andre Jackson officially in, Giannis officially in. Nothing really surprising there. Give us the starting lineup. How about you do that? That'll make our lives easier. What's up, TJ?
Not too much. Ready to help the people win some money tonight with a couple of elite analysts.
Are we excited about the in-season NBA Emirates Cup? I can feel the excitement. It's palpable.
Sure. Why not? I'm not against
corporate marketing.
Means, I just don't really care.
Yeah, people are going to be moaning and complaining about the courts. I haven't seen all of them just yet. I like it. I think it's great. There's no negative. There's the worst case scenario. It's just a regular game. Okay, that's the worst thing. But I think it's definitely a positive as well. We got Taylor and Neil as well. There's a lot to get to, so we should probably just cut off the pleasantries. You guys are going to smash it for sure. Myself, Tim, Bobby, People Show. We should step aside and get out of here and make way for TJ to take you all home the next 39 minutes for crunch time. So TJ, do your thing.
And with that, we just got pretty big news that Ryan Rollins is going to be the starting point guard today for the Milwaukee Bucks. So we'll see how we want to handle that. Like Dean said, I'm TJ Zwarych, your host for NBA Crunch Time today, joined by two of the sharpest minds in the biz. First up, we got Neil Orfield. How you doing, Neil?
I'm doing well. Excited. Another Timberwolves slate game that they should win. It's in Portland, so away game, but I still think Timberwolves have a good shot of winning it. So feeling good about tonight. Should be a fun one.
And helping us break it down as well, we got Taylor Smith. How you doing today, Taylor?
Doing pretty well. First time I've been on with Neil, so looking forward to that. And yeah, it is a pretty good slate. There's a lot of news. Just got some of it, so we'll see how projections shake out.
With that, let's get started on a bit of a slate breakdown here. We'll go position by position on FanDuel, then DraftKings, then take some questions. But before that, Taylor, what do you see on this slate in terms of an overview? We got a lot of value. We got a lot of spend ups that are looking like they're in great spots with their co-stars on their teams missing. So how are you going to handle this one without seeing the projections yet? You think Rollins is going to be cash game play now?
I think he might be. I believe we had AJ Green projected to start, so this should shake things up a little bit. Keaton Wallace was kind of the value punt at point guard with Trae Young out. I assume this will kind of move the ownership a little bit to Rollins, but we'll see. It's a good spot. They're playing Toronto, so it's the worst defense in the league. No Dame, plenty of usage to go around. I think that's a big decision point. Whether you punt with Rollins or Wallace. Not exactly household names, but it's what we're dealing with on this slate.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I'm interested to see what they do for their starting lineup there, because it could be Green or Jackson that ends up being the one that gets pulled out of there. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. Let's start going position by position. Neil, I will throw it to you first for point guard on FanDuel. Who do you like today over on FanDuel?
First of all, I'm like, okay, Ryan Rollins is only shooting guard eligible. Had to look that up because I imagine that could affect things. I don't know. I don't know what to make of Ryan Rollins yet, so that we'll have to see how much that changes the slate. I am getting to on FanDuel right now about 50%, just under 50% Keaton Wallace. This is just my first run, so I haven't spent a ton of time tinkering with what I want to do, but I think he looks great. Like he's an obvious strong point per dollar play. I'm a little bit hesitant about it with Wallace, particularly FanDuel. He's only point guard eligible, so you can only play. So there are 2 point guards, so there is a little bit of opportunity cost there. But he's 4,000, just I think probably the best point per dollar play. Yep, the best point per dollar play at point guard. If I can get away from it a little bit, I would kind of like to, because I think he is really chalky. Not a great point per dollar play, as we said. So yeah, I'm getting there a good amount. He's my highest exposed. I think he probably ends up being my highest exposed, but I do have some trepidation there. Devion Mitchell, just behind him at 4,200, projects slightly worse, but also going to get a little bit lower ownership. Getting to some DeAnthony Melton, Terry Rozier, Tyus Jones, Jalen Suggs, Tyler Herro, and then it's a big drop off down to Jrue Holiday next.
Just got Ryan Hollins off waivers in my season-long team to start for tonight. Perfect. Taylor, how about you? Who do you like at point guard? Who are we playing in cash games today?
I think you're definitely playing Davion on FanDuel. He's only 4.2, quickly missing for Toronto. So a good spot for him. Not a great per minute guy, but the matchup is good, and he's cheap. So I think that's fine. I think you can play Wallace here as well. Tyus Jones I like quite a bit for a little bit more, 5'8", not exactly a ton to pay for him. This just looks like a value position, I think, on FanDuel, especially in cash. You can play Mike Conley. He's going to top out at like 24 to 26 minutes, but matchup's pretty good. He's affordable. I don't mind that. I just think you probably just want to drop down a little bit more in cash to the Wallace Davion tier instead.
All right, let's go over to shooting guard.
So KD is still out for Phoenix, so more usage for Booker, more usage for Beal, playing time for Grayson Allen. Like there are quite a few Suns you can play at shooting guard and small forward, all three of them, in fact. Beal and Booker kind of staples on this slate on both sites. Grady Dick looks a little bit better now with Quickly out. He's only 5'7", good matchup against Milwaukee. That game in general just looks pretty stackable all around, so Dick is going to be playable again tonight. On the other side of the Phoenix game, the Utah guys aren't going to be super chalky. I think Colin Sexton in the 6K range is okay. Tyler Hero and Terry Rozier with Butler out for Miami look pretty good against Detroit. I think Melton might be more of a play on DK at this point than he is on FanDuel, but you can still play him on both. And then kind of a pay-up option that might go relatively overlooked with Booker being obvious chalk is Anthony Edwards against Portland for 8-7 on FanDuel. I don't mind that.
All right, Neil, how about you? Who do you like at shooting guard? With Ryan Rollins at 3,600, how much do you think you're going to be getting to him?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still waiting a little bit on projection updates, but I think a good amount. We don't have really great point per dollar options at shooting guard. He does look like he will be. Actually, it looks like projections maybe have updated. He looks good. He looks great at 3,600. Currently is looking like he'll be one of my highest exposed players. Yeah, I like
second best point per dollar play currently behind Garrison Matthews. According to the shot quality projections.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Yep. Looks great. Getting to a good amount of, actually, let me resort this. Devin Booker, I'm getting to a ton. Bradley Beal, DeAnthony Melton, Terry Rozier, Grayson Allen, Jalen Suggs. I think I might boost Ant. And yes, I am definitely a Timberwolves homer, but also sort of think that there is this angle that I like of just playing for DeAndre Ayton being out. So like if you do that, there's not a ton of great value later on, but I like the idea of paying up for somebody else in those lineups, pairing, Anthony Edwards with either Robert Williams or Donovan Clingan. And then, you have the 2v2 pivot in case we end up with DeAndre Ayton playing, then you could swap on to Ayton and somebody else, whatever. So I do like the idea of kind of, over projecting some of those later players and including the two cheap centers there. So I think I'm going to end up with more Ant here in part because I want to be able to make that 2v2 swap. But yeah, right now it's a lot of the Suns guys: Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, Grayson Allen, DeAnthony Melton, Terry Rozier, then Jalen Suggs, Ant, Kamara, Tyler Herro, Grady Dick, and then a drop off for me.
All right, take me. Or have you done? You haven't done. Have you done shooting guard yet, Taylor?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, take me to small forward. Yeah.
A lot of the same. So it's Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, and Grayson Allen are all eligible at both shooting guard and small forward. They're still 3 of my top 4. Franz Wagner makes it in there as well at small forward. Ant is still there. Andrew Wiggins currently, of course, he is questionable. So that's another place that we might be able to pivot later to potentially find some other values. I don't know. Nobody really jumps up that much from Golden State, but would be at least helpful. Kamara still there. RJ Barrett, Grady Dick. Jalen Johnson is sort of interesting. Obviously don't love the matchup, but should have a lot of usage. But those are all the players I'm getting to 10% or more currently.
Taylor, how about you? Who do you like small forward? Who is the cash game option?
Yeah, you're definitely playing some combo of Beal and Booker. Whether you're playing them here at small forward or at shooting guard with Rollins at shooting guard, you're probably playing at least one of them at small forward. So easy plays there. The guy I'm under on who might be popular is Jalen Johnson. I'm just kind of nervous about Atlanta in that game against Boston. Huge underdogs, no Trae Young, no Hunter, no Bogdanovich. Like, it's very easy to see them getting massacred. So I'm not super psyched about paying up for Jalen Johnson, even though it is a good spot in theory, like from a usage standpoint. He's a fine play. I think you can play him in cash, but far from a must, in my opinion. Risa Shea, like the cheaper Hawks look a little bit better just because you're not, paying top dollar. So Risa Shea is fine. I like the Wagner call in the Orlando lineup without Banchero. Klay Thompson is cheap. He's been pretty bad, but it's an okay enough spot. Going back to Golden State, he's cheap enough to consider. I mentioned Edwards here. Kuminga would get a boost if Wiggins is out. Still waiting on that news. And I kind of like Markkanen as a bring back with all the Suns in a tournament as well.
All right. Take me to power forward.
Power forward, Giannis is kind of the very obvious play here without Dame. Having a very hard time not getting him in every lineup at this point. So it's a little bit scary, but great matchup. The Raptors are last in defense. They allow a ton of points in the paint. That's kind of Giannis's whole thing. So phenomenal play, very easy to pay up for him. You can play Wagner here as well. John Collins looks pretty good to me. Walker Kessler got ruled out. Collins should see extra minutes as a result, even if he doesn't start the game. I don't mind Julius Randle in a tournament. He's pretty cheap on FanDuel, only 7,300. I like that quite a bit. RJ Barrett as well. I don't think I mentioned him at small forward, but without Quickly, he's going to see a huge usage boost. And again, the matchup, like the Bucks are not a good defensive team this season. That game should be relatively competitive, I would think, even if the Raptors are super thin. So Barrett is kind of my alternative to Jalen Johnson, and he's quite a bit cheaper on FanDuel than he is on DK.
All right. Heck yeah. I love the John Collins call. I am heavily overweight on him today. Neil, how about you? Who are you prioritizing at power forward?
In no shock, it's going to be a lot of the same players. Giannis looks amazing. Franz Wagner again. John Collins, like you said, is my third highest power forward currently. Wiggins, Julius Randle looks pretty good at 7,300 on FanDuel, only power forward eligible. Jeremy Grant, another one that I'm just boosting a little bit. Maybe benefits a little bit from DeAndre Ayton being out in terms of if DeAndre Ayton ends up being out. So another player that I'm giving a little bit of a boost to just for that potentiality, and the field won't be able to get there if they don't, have foresight there. And I think it's like a true 50-50. So I don't want to make it sound like I'm sure that DeAndre Ayton is going to be out. I just think that the benefits of kind of playing it that way outweigh the risks of playing it that way. So another player I'm giving a little bit of a boost to right now is Jeremy Grant, power forward. RJ Barrett, Draymond Green, get into a bit of Naz Reid, Lauri Markkanen, Jalen Johnson, just a little bit of Tatum, not a ton there. And those are the players I'm getting to in any kind of real number.
Assuming that Ayton is out and that they play 0 minutes together but split the 48 center minutes, do you think you can play Klingon and Robert Williams together?
Not on FanDuel, because they're yeah, I was going to say on FanDuel, they're only center eligible. But on DraftKings, yeah, I do think so. Because there is, if they split minutes, you would love it. Like you'd be all over playing those two together. Who knows if that would be the case? But yeah, I think I would be willing to play them together.
Yeah, I'm getting like 35% of each of them right now because I'm building the exact same way on DraftKings with DeAndre. Nice. I'm projecting DeAndre Ayton and Yusuf Nurkic out. And so getting to a lot of Plumlee and getting to a lot of those two. Neil, take me to the center position where we just got news that Derek Lively will play. So Gafford, if he was potentially going to be an option, no longer is. Also, somewhat interesting to note, Grant Williams was not originally projected to start. He is starting now. So who do you like at the center position, Neil?
Brooke Lopez, currently my highest exposed. John Collins, Bam Adebayo, Rudy Gobert, Draymond Green, Naz Reid, Bobby Portis. And then not getting too much. I'm actually, after giving a big boost to, so again, this is my first run after adjusting just a few things. I boosted both Klingon and Robert Williams to 21 fantasy points each, and I'm still not getting to much of either of them, getting to 1 or 2%. I still might force my way into a little bit more. I'm more interested, I think, on DraftKings than FanDuel, but I still think on FanDuel they make for viable plays if you want to play that way, assuming Ayton's out.
I like it. How about you, Taylor? Who are you playing at center? What do you do? I mean, we know on FanDuel that you just play Bam Adebayo at the center position where he's going to be 50% owned, but what do you feel is the right decision to do with that in tournaments? Personally, I think I'd hit the X.
Yeah, especially, it's the first game of the night, so you lose any flexibility whatsoever right away. I don't think you're wrong to build with either the idea that Ayton or
Wallace
should be
is
out.
starting today.
Yeah, I saw
for
that.
Atlanta. Garrison Matthews is not.
Yeah, I was happy to fade Garrison Matthews either way, and now he's probably not going to be super chalky, I wouldn't think. But Keaton Wallace is going to be intriguing as well. But yeah, I don't think you're wrong to fade Bam. Like, he's a great play in theory. No Butler, more usage for him, but there are ways to go later on if the news breaks a certain way. I think Nurkic, if he plays, is kind of interesting. It's a little concerning that he played in the last game and then left right away or at halftime, but he's reasonably priced. It's a good matchup against Utah. I don't mind that. And then you pivot to Plumlee if Nurkic is out. And Ayton's kind of the same thing. They're both 6,100, so it's like the exact same play. If Ayton's out, then you can pivot down to Klingon or Williams. I think I would feel a little bit better about Klingon just because Williams recently came back from an injury. He might be the more limited of the two. So it might not be like a straight 24-24 split. That's just my take on it. Otherwise, Brooke Lopez looks okay. Low floor, but more usage in theory without Dame. Don't mind Gobert for Minnesota. Getting a little bit of Kata for Boston, but that doesn't feel great. And then Pirtle, I think, looks pretty good with Quickly out. He's been balling with Quickly out all season. Minutes should come back up a little bit for him. I like that quite a bit. And then Collins, you can play at center as well.
All right. I like it. Let's make the pivot over to DraftKings. I think that we're going to have lots and lots of questions tonight with all the different news we're waiting on and new starters we didn't expect to get. So we'll rip through the position by position here, save lots of time for questions. After that, we'll go to RotoGrinders live stream Discord chat to look at questions first. Then I will look at the YouTube chat. YouTube, make sure you smash that like button, hit the notification bell. Make sure you are subscribed to the RotoGrinders channel. Let's pivot over to DraftKings here, where we have so much value. It's crazy. Wallace, Rollins, and that's not even considering the amount that we could have opening up if DeAndre Ayton and Yusuf Nurkic, players like that, are to miss this game. So, Taylor, I'll start with you. Point guard position, you're locking in Rollins and Wallace and Booker into cash games, correct?
I assume so. I haven't actually run a build since we got the Keaton Wallace starting news, but get both of them for 6.2 total. I think it's a very easy call.
Yeah,
to do
Wallace
that.
up to a 30-minute projection, almost 24 fantasy points. If you look at the shot quality ones, I think his projection's even higher.
Yeah, so I don't really think you mess around there. And if the game blows out, which is possible, maybe he gets blowout run as well. So I think there's a pretty safe path to getting there for Wallace. It's such a cheap salary. Rollins, is a little bit cheaper, perfectly fine as well. I guess the pay-ups as a result, other than Booker, are going to be pretty overlooked at this point. So if you want to flip the build, you're not going to find the same quality value at other positions unless those centers get ruled out later. So I think playing for that in a tournament is pretty interesting, and then paying up at point guard instead for someone like Cade Cunningham or LaMelo. Tyler Hero in the mid-range, again, looks pretty decent to me. Another cheap one who's not quite as high a priority on DK is Davion Mitchell, but I still think you can play him in a tournament. 5,200 looks okay for him. And then Jaden Ivey, kind of a mid-range flyer, probably playing him at shooting guard though.
All right, Neil, how about you? With how we've had some time to adapt, look at projections. How do you think you're going to handle these cheap point guards and the spend ups as well on DraftKings?
So I'm still getting to Keaton Mitchell as my highest exposed point guard. Getting to more Keaton Wallace than Ryan Rollins at the moment. It's tough because I don't think either of them is like extremely strong chalk. Like they're good value plays. I'm hesitant to like go all in on these guys in this spot. Like they both certainly can fail. There's no reason that they need to be locked into 30 plus minutes. They're not like star level players in new roles. But I still think I'm going to get to a good amount of both of them. As I said, Keaton Wallace currently my highest exposed player at point guard, and that probably remains the same. I might try to get a little bit underweight to the field there, but it's tough to argue. He's a cash game lock for sure. Looks like a great value, but there are certainly paths for it to fail. He is a sub 1, like 0.8 fantasy point per minute player on the season. So if he does lose any of those minutes, especially in a tough matchup with Boston, like it can fail, but I'm going to eat a lot of that. Devin Booker, DeAnthony Melton, both look good. Ryan Rollins is currently my 4th highest exposed point guard. Tyus Jones, I am getting to a bit of Luka Doncic. LaMelo Ball, I mean, the role is really strong. I don't love the matchup, but with that good of a role, I'm going to get to a good amount. Tyler Harrow, and then nobody else in double digits.
All right, take us to shooting guard.
Yeah, shooting guard, it's the same. I think it's the same 3. Devin Booker, Grayson Allen, and Bradley Beal all towards the top for me. DeAnthony Melton as well. Anthony Edwards, again, I gave him a little bit of a boost. Tyler Harrow, and then nobody else in double digits at shooting guard for me.
All right, Taylor, how about you? Who do you like today at shooting guard? I almost have my own lineups in. I got a 150 max. I got 2 different 20 maxes, and we are getting them saved right now. It feels good. I like this slate. It's fun. Taylor, who are you playing in shooting guard?
Let's see. It's going to be the same stuff. Phoenix guys for sure. Devin Booker. Not sure why my computer is not catching up with me.
I'm at 68% Booker right now. Yeah,
it's pretty much impossible to fade him. He's way too cheap for the role. 8,800 is kind of silly for him. Dyson Daniels, less of a priority than it looked like he would be this morning, but huge role for Atlanta. Gets defensive stats. 6K is a bit of an overpay for him in theory, but I think it's okay enough. Getting to a little bit of Davion here because he does have shooting guard eligibility. Bradley Beal, Jaden Ivey, I mentioned. DeAnthony Melton, cheapy, I'm getting to a little bit. His minutes are decent enough in a starting role for Golden State. In theory, could get a boost if Wiggins is out, so we'll see about that. And not a whole lot else. Grady Dick, but he's a little bit more expensive on DK, so not getting to him as much as I am on FanDuel.
All right, take me to the small forward position. This is by far my most balanced position on FanDuel, on DraftKings, than any of them, because point guard, I have 70+% ownership for Rollins and Mitchell. Shooting guard, I have 68% for Booker. Power forward center, I have 77 for Giannis. But at this position, my highest player is RJ Barrett at 32%.
Yeah, it's not a position with a lot of clarity, so there are quite a few ways you can go. I think Wagner, again, looks good over here at 8,400. Bradley Beal, 7K flat, of course. Tatum, if you want to pay all the way up, it's a great spot against Atlanta if you think he's going to see a full complement of minutes. I mentioned Daniels here. Grayson Allen as a punt still looks okay enough. Risa Shea in that Atlanta kind of situation without Trae Young looks good to me. I mentioned Markkanen on FanDuel just as the natural run back for Utah. If you're not going to play Collins, I think Markkanen should be pretty low owned on this slate in theory. And if the Phoenix guys are going to hit their ceilings, you probably need Utah to keep the game close enough. So I don't mind playing for running for the Jets guy.
All right. How about you, Neil? Who do you like at small forward?
Yeah, getting to a lot of those Suns again, Grayson Allen, Bradley Beal, Franz Wagner, Andrew Wiggins. I'm getting to a good amount of Jason Tatum, Lauri Markkanen. Torian Prince, forcing myself to get to a little bit more Risache than I was getting like 0, but like the ownership is so low there. And I think there's, obviously there's increased upside with some injuries in Atlanta. And we've seen the upside for Risache. Like we've seen him with what do you get, like 60 DraftKings points already in a game. So I think at like 0 ownership, that's a good call. And then get into a bit of Josh Hart. Just again, the minutes are so good that I always want to have just a little bit of exposure to Josh Hart, RJ Barrett, nobody else in double digits.
All right, take me to power forward.
Power forward. So Giannis just looks like a smash play here with Dame out. The role is just too good, easy to get there. I'm getting to a ton. Currently, Robert Williams is my second highest exposed power forward. That is definitely something that I would not recommend if you are at all risk averse. I'm very risk on as a DFS player. I don't know that I'll end up quite with this much Robert Williams. And then I do think like I agree with Taylor that, I have concerns about Robert Williams from a what is his minutes upside standpoint. Like I don't really know what his upside is from that standpoint, but also he's like a 1.6 fantasy point per minute player. So it's like if you get 18 minutes out of Robert Williams, that's
enough.
Yeah, that would be more than enough. So I'm still willing to go there, even with limited, with probably a cap on his ceilings limit. Franz Wagner, John Collins, Andrew Wiggins, Jason Tatum. I'm getting to a bit of Torian Prince, Lauri Markkanen, Josh Hart, a little bit of Julius Randle, and nobody else in double digits currently. I gave a boost to Jeremy Grant, but still currently only at 6%.
All right, Taylor, how about you? Who do you like power forward?
Yeah, Giannis, like the very obvious top play. I'm getting to more Jalen Johnson now than I was before. I assume just because there's more guard value and it kind of pushes up the expensive forward. So Franz Wagner, same thing. Markkanen, Tatum, even a little bit. RJ Barrett. There are quite a few plays that aren't Giannis who still have high upside. So Giannis is going to be the mega chalk here, and he should be. But there are alternatives if you do want to go in a different direction. Torian Prince is okay. Grant Williams, like we said, is starting 4,900. I think that's fine. Anunoby, like Neil said with Hart, just those Knicks play tons of minutes every night. And Phillies, their defense should be better with Embiid back, but they still haven't been great in that regard. So decent spot for the Knicks, even in a low total game.
All right, take me to center.
Yeah, so Giannis, you can play him here as well. I was getting to some Klingon even before the Ayton news, just as a pure punt. In a tournament, maybe you hope they get blown out and he gets a little extra burn. I think Klingon is still playable, even if Ayton is in, but obviously you feel way better about that if he's out. Other than that, Nurkic, I think 5,800 looks good for him if he's in. If he's not, then it's Plumlee as the alternative. Bam is going to be, I guess, lower owned on DK than it will be on FanDuel, so I like him a bit more over here where you can play 2 centers. Goga starting for Orlando looks okay. Mo Wagner as the pivot in a tournament. Gobert at 6,400 looks really cheap over here. I like that quite a bit. And then John Collins, I thought I'd be getting a little bit more than I am, but I still like him a lot at 6,400 on DK.
All right, Neil, how about you? Center position.
Yeah, so Giannis by far the most. It is Robert Williams. I have a little bit ahead of Robert Klingon right now. I don't know if I actually want to end up with that. Maybe if we end up with Ayton in, I pivot more of that to.
I have so much
Klingon
of both
instead.
of them. It's
Yeah,
so much
I do
fun.
too. I have a ton of both. They're my second and third highest centers at the moment. John Collins after those two is my third highest. Rudy Gobert I gave a little bit of a boost to. I like that call from Taylor. Would also benefit, I think, from, I don't know. I think he's good either way with Ayton in or out. Brook Lopez looks, he's only 5,500. Great matchup with Toronto. Getting to some cat, I think they said Embiid his ceiling is like 25 minutes or something like that. So we'll at least get some minutes without even have to worry about Embiid. Yeah, but I agree. Like obviously hurts having Embiid back in there for even 25 minutes. Julius Randle, Draymond Green, nobody else in double digits for me currently.
All right, that'll do it for the position by position stuff. Let's start to going through the questions. Like I said, I'll go to the RotoGrinders live stream Discord chat first. Then I will be going to the YouTube chat. YouTube, make sure you are smashing the like button. If you like the content we're giving, then make sure you check out RotoGrinders combo because DFS is all about value. And we got a lot of it on this slate. Help yourself sort through it, and with the busiest time in the sports calendar, which means it's the perfect time to sign up for RotoGrinders Premium. For a limited time, get your first month of combo access for just $79.99. That's $5 more than NBA Premium. Don't pass up this great value. And you can also get access to the shot quality projections, which is some of the most advanced NBA data in the market. You can get shot quality projections for Lineup HQ at rotogrinders.com/shot quality. You can get 1 month for $40 or yearly for $200. Just give it, or you can just give it a test run for a 3-day pass for $9.99. Let's start taking some questions here. We got about 11 minutes left till lock. FanDuel GPP, Neil. Can I play Batatse at center?
Goga. Let's see. I think so. Let's see. Pretty strong matchup. Yeah, I think he's a totally fine play at center. He's only center eligible, so don't love that. But yeah, he's like, nearly a 5x player and great matchup with Charlotte. You can always play bigs against Charlotte. So yeah, no issue with that at all.
2-part question for you here, Taylor. Do you think Anthony Simons would get a bump in projections if Ayton is out? And do you think it's okay to leave $700 on the table on FanDuel in this slate?
I think $700 a lot to leave on this slate. There's just a lot to like in every price tier. So ideally I would not do that. And I think Simons might get a little boost, but Ayton's not a high usage guy to begin with. So I don't think it would be slate altering for him. He'd be okay, but not someone I'm looking to jam in if Ayton's out.
All right. Next question here. DK GPP. I already have Brunson, Neil. Should I play Hart or Portis?
DK GPP, Hart or Portis when you already have Brunson. All right, let's see. 1 second. My lean would be Hart. I think I like even with Brunson there. I think I still lean Hart just for the just a better projection. I think looks stronger.
DK Cash, Taylor. What do you think about fading Bam so that you can maintain flexibility for later in the slate?
Yeah, there's definitely enough else to like at center to where Bam is not a must in DK Cash, I would say. So that's fine with me.
DK core plays for Cash. We're looking at Keaton Wallace, Ryan Rollins, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Devin Booker. Those are the 4 I think you absolutely have to play in Cash. Would anybody you'd want to add or subtract to that list, Taylor?
No, I think you ran it down perfectly, TJ.
All right, DK GPP, Neil, Steph or Kyrie?
Ooh, DK, hang on 1 second. So Kyrie is 8,300. Steph is 8. Okay, the same price tag. I think I'd probably go Kyrie there. He projects a little bit worse, but getting a little bit lower ownership and still has massive upside. So yeah, I think Kyrie, but it's very close.
I like it. DK GPP, Taylor, Tatum and OG or Franz and Markkanen?
Give me the Franz Markkanen half of that one.
I like that side as well. Who are your favorite studs for a FanDuel GPP, Neil? Like Giannis is the obvious answer, but I guess would you want to be over or under his ownership? And if it's not him, who else do you like?
I'd be over 30%. Or what do we have? Giannis's project. I think the projected ownership for Giannis is a little bit lighter than I'd like to be. Luka, I mean, you obviously kind of stating the obvious. Luka looks pretty good. Tatum, if that game can stay close and he is a full go, looks like a really strong play. As I said, I like Ant. I think it's just if the game stays close and it's a little bit more likely to in Portland, I think Ant should have a really strong game here. Franz Wagner is 8,200, so he's a pretty strong pay up option against Charlotte. I like that quite a bit. Markkanen looks good with no Kessler.
I think they just wanted 1 or 2, so you got to pick your favorite.
I mean, Giannis is my favorite. Giannis is definitely my favorite. If I have to go beyond Giannis, one more, I think I would probably go with. Just mentioned it. I mean,
Edwards?
Ant would be an option. Yeah, Ant is always a pretty strong option for me. Maybe Franz Wagner would be my second favorite.
Yeah, I think Franz is going very overlooked today. I like that call quite a bit. FanDuel Cash, Taylor, Grady Dick and Bam, or Wagner and Brolo?
Grady Dick and Bam, I think.
Are any of those Bucks bench guys interesting on FanDuel as pivots? Well, if I'm not mistaken, we actually don't necessarily know who the Bucks bench guys are going to be yet, because we don't know if Rollins is going to start alongside Jackson or Green. But I think whichever doesn't start between Jackson and Green would be the most interesting. And in 150 lineups, I took a couple flyers on DeLon Wright, just in case. He was getting minutes earlier in the season. If he's a guy that gets 22, 24 minutes at min price, he can absolutely smash. Beal or Hart, DK single entry, Neil?
Probably Josh Hart.
DK utility position, Taylor, 4,800 or less. The range does not look good right now, but I will say I like the idea of trying to wait on Mason Plumlee and playing him there.
Yeah, there's really no one I would rather play than Plumlee if Nurkic is out, so I would do that too. Just maybe slot him in and hope that you get the news.
And if you don't, maybe Najee Marshall.
Yeah, I was going to say Marshall's probably the pivot in a later game.
I guess, you got some Gary Trent revenge against Toronto without Damian Lillard. Yeah, you never know. You never know, but he's really struggled this year as well. FanDuel single entry, Neil. Can you play Wallace and Rollins together? Would you play those two cheapies together?
Yes, you can. A lot of people will. I don't know. Yeah, I think I probably would.
All right, pivoting to YouTube. Make sure you smash the like button, YouTube. We got about 5 minutes left to lock. DK, point guard, Booker or A Green? I mean, I don't understand that question. I got, let's see, QQ, DK. Oh, we just hit that one in the Discord. Beal or RJ Barrett on FanDuel, Neil?
RJ Barrett.
FanDuel GPP, it doesn't say GPP, but FanDuel Taylor, De Silva or Grayson Allen?
Oh, definitely Allen.
Guards have been killing the Bucks lately. Granted, that was probably a lot because of Damian Lillard's defense, and he is no longer there. But Alvin White wants to know if you want to run back for your Bucks stacks, Neil, who do you like better, RJ or Grady Dick?
Probably, man, that's pretty close for me. This is on DraftKings.
Yeah. No, on FanDuel.
Oh, on Fan. Okay, sorry. 1 second. It's probably going to be Grady Dick for me. Let's see. Let's choose none. So we have Barrett is 7,600. Grady Dick is 57. Yeah, I think it would be probably Grady Dick for me.
Yeah, Dick's got both of them actually have a really nice price tag over there. Clay or Royce on DraftKings, Taylor?
I think I would take Clay, assuming Royce is playing off the bench again. Royce is probably the safer play, but I kind of like Clay in that spot.
All right. DK Cash, Booker and Jalen Johnson or Luka and John Collins? It's Booker and Jalen Johnson. You got to play Booker in DK Cash today. Neil, who are your favorite low ownership point guard plays? It doesn't say the site. Diego, you got to let us know the site if you want for us to analyze who specifically would the low own be. On DK centers, choose. Okay, that's not a question either. Randall and Gobert, okay, in the same lineup for DK single entry, Neil?
Yeah, it's not my favorite. Like I probably wouldn't do it if I were hand building a single entry lineup, but I think it's okay. Like there's no issue really with it. But on a large enough site, I probably would lean against it.
FanDuel GPP, what do you think of Jared McCain, Taylor, and how many minutes is he projected for? I'll check that if you want to just say if you like him or not.
Don't like him as much with Embiid there. Just going to take tons of usage when he's in. So I guess he's okay because Maxi's out and he should have a role, but not my favorite play on the slate.
Yeah, he was nicer before we had quite so much value too. Last piece, Yahoo GPP, Agbaji or Boucher, neither of them. Grayson Allen or Klay Thompson, DK single entry, Neil. They are very different prices, but who you like better for a point per dollar standpoint?
Yeah, probably Klay for me.
Cade Cunningham or Brunson on DK, Taylor?
I'll take Cade on that one.
Minute and a half left to lock. Make sure you get your lineups in. Neil, how many lineups would you project Klingon for if Ayton gets ruled out?
How many lineups or minutes?
Minutes.
Ooh, I mean, I have no idea. Is he starting in this scenario? I'd probably just project him for like 26 or something. He'd be a smash for me. I'd play him in all my lineups. I think if I'd try to play him in all my lineups if he starts in that scenario.
Who's your answer your question? If you really want to know Agbaji or Boucher, it's Agbaji, but neither of them. Really, neither of them. 1 minute left to lock. Get your lineups in. We have hit all of the questions. Great job, everybody. This is tough, but the biggest thing we're going to have to monitor is it's not a night to just close your computer, right? It's not a night to just ignore this and go on and play and watch something else, watch a movie. You need to pay attention because we have a lot of important late swap information. We're still waiting for some starting lineups. We're going to need to know who's starting for the Bucks. That'll be important. But in addition to that, there's DeAndre Ayton questionable. There's Yusuf Nurkic questionable. Both of those could open up some huge value at the center positions with Mason Plumlee, Robert Williams, Klingon, whatever his name is. But it's pretty fun to say regardless. And he's going to be a great play if DeAndre Ayton is out. Taylor, Neil, anything else for the people before we get out of here?
Nothing for me.
Go Timberwolves.
Go Timberwolves. Go Raptors. And no, I actually would prefer the Raptors to lose. Let's get some good future draft picks. But one more thing before we get out of here. By now, I'm sure you've heard us talk about Splash Sports. They're one of the fastest growing peer-to-peer gaming platforms in US and Canada. And we've got an exclusive offer for those who haven't signed up and tried the newest Quick Picks game, similar to DFS Pick'em games where you build an entry of 2, 3, or 4 picks, choose either more or less, and then receive a payout of 3x, 6x, or 12x, depending on how many you get right. From now through November 17th, new users who sign up using promo code ROTO10 will receive 20% of all Quick Picks entry fees in November back as playable bonuses on December 1st. The bonus maxes out at $1,000, so this is one of the most significant rake-back offers we've seen in years in DFS, only available for those using promo code ROTO10 at sign-up. Check in the link in our description for more info right down there. Whew! That was the first time I ever did that read, and I got to say, I'm pretty impressed with myself.
Nice job. You killed it.
You did nail it.
Smoothly, but
Many would say that you could sell used cars.
thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. We will be back tomorrow for more NBA, and the NFL content starts coming in full force tomorrow as well, so stay tuned for that. Thank you for tuning in, everyone. On behalf of myself, Neil, Taylor, Steve behind the scenes, the GrindersLive guys as well, you have been crunched.